Good day, everyone. I'm Crystal Valida, and I would like to greet you all a pleasant day. We will be presenting a research study entitled The Fourth Year Aviation Tourism Students' Motivation Towards Learning Nihongo as a Foreign Language, together with my group mates, Ms. Christine Marie Bumanglad, Mr. Jalen Nicolo Reyes, and Ms. Mary Joy Bersosa. The Fourth Year Aviation Tourism Students' Motivation Towards Learning Nihongo as a Foreign Language. In this study, the researcher will seek to answer the following question. First, what is the demographic profile of the fourth year aviation tourism students in terms of name, sex, and section? Second, how these factors affect the motivation of fourth year aviation tourism students towards learning Nihongo as a foreign language with regards to A. Attitude to learning situation. B. Integrativeness. And C. Instrumentality. Third, how motivation influenced the experiences of the fourth year aviation tourism students in taking the foreign language subject in terms of language achievement and language anxiety. Fourth, is there any significant correlation of the demographic profile of the fourth year aviation tourism students to the factors affecting their motivation as well as influences on the experiences in taking foreign language subject? Lastly, what are the students' recommendations for the incoming fourth year aviation tourism students who will take the foreign language subject?
The theoretical framework used in the study is based on socio-educational of secondary language acquisition, which was proposed by Robert C. Gardner. Based on the diagram, we can see that attitudes to learning situations, integrativeness, and instrumentality are positively correlated, which can be illustrated using two directional arrows, and interconnected with motivation using a unidirectional arrow. The model also shows that language anxiety affects language achievement and vice versa, as indicated by two directional arrows.
The hypothesis of this study is that there is no significant correlation of the demographic profile to the factors affecting the motivation, as well as the influences on the experiences of the fourth-year aviation tourism students in taking foreign language subject.
The respondents of this study are the selected 140 aviation tourism students of the Philippine State College of Aeronautics Villamor Air Base Campus who are presently taking their foreign language subject. The researchers believe that selecting those respondents were the ones who were capable and knowledgeable enough to answer the questions provided by the researchers in this study.
The researcher chose the locale to conduct a study in the Philippine State College of Aeronautics Villamor campus located at Fisher Garden, Villamor, Pasay City. The researcher distributed the survey question in person to the respondents to answer the questions regarding the study the researcher conducted.
The researchers utilized structured questionnaire with close-ended questions distributed to the selected 100 fourth-year aviation tourism students in Pilska Villamor campus to determine the motivations of the fourth-year aviation tourism students who are taking the subject of foreign language.
Stratified random sampling was utilized in this research as the researcher only chooses the selected 100 fourth-year aviation tourism student at the Philippine State College of Aeronautics Villamor campus, taking the foreign language subject. The researchers selected 60% of the population in each section because these respondents can provide the data and the ones who are knowledgeable enough to answer the question in the study.
Chapter 3 is the summary of the data that the researchers gathered, and all of the information was examined to answer the questions based on the statement of the problem written in Chapter 1 of this research. In question 1, what is the demographic profile of the respondents in terms of sex? The 74 respondents are the female aviation tourism students of Philippine State College of Aeronautics Villamor campus, and the majority of the respondents with a percentage of 74%. In comparison, 26 respondents are the male aviation tourism students with a percentage of 26%. In terms of section, Avtur 41 has the highest number of respondents with 26 respondents, equivalent of 26.12%. followed by Avtur 42, Avtur 43, Avtur 44, and lastly Avtur 45 with the least number of respondents.
Question number 2. How these factors affect the motivation of the fourth year aviation tourism students towards learning Nihongo as a foreign language with regards to A. Attitude to learning situation. The researcher found that the respondents agreed that attitude to learning situation could affect the motivation of the fourth year aviation tourism students towards learning Nihongo as a foreign language, having a general weighted mean of 2.82 and a standard deviation of 0.63. Integrativeness. The researcher found that the respondents agreed that integrativeness affects the motivation of fourth-year aviation tourism students towards learning Nihongo as a foreign language, having a general weighted mean of 2.94 and a standard deviation of 0.53. Lastly, with regards to instrumentality, the researcher found that the respondents agreed that instrumentality of learning Nihongo motivates the respondents with having a general weighted mean of 2.73 and a standard deviation of 0.56.
Question 3. How motivation influenced the experiences of the fourth year aviation tourism students in taking the foreign language subject in terms of A. Language achievement. The researchers found out that the respondents disagreed that the language achievement could influence the experience in the motivation of the fourth year aviation tourism students towards learning Nihongo as a foreign language, having a general weighted mean of 2.49 and a standard deviation of 0.53. B. Language anxiety. The researchers found out that the respondents agreed that the language anxiety could influence the motivation of the fourth year aviation tourism students towards learning Nihongo with a general weighted mean equivalent of 2.58 and a standard deviation of 0.78.
Question 4. Is there any significant correlation of the demographic profile of the fourth year aviation tourism students to the factors affecting their motivation as well as influences on their experiences in taking the foreign language subject? The result shows that the student's sex is not statistically correlated with their motivational factors such as attitudes to learning situation, integrativeness, and instrumentality. While in terms of the influences based on their experiences, it also shows that there was no statistically correlation in terms of language achievement and language anxiety. With regards to the section, the result shows that the student section is not statistically correlated with their motivational factors such as attitude to learning situation, integrativeness, and instrumentality. While in terms of influences based on their experiences, it also shows that there was no statistical correlation in terms of language achievement.
The findings of the study can be understood as follows. Conclusion 1. As the researchers completed the data gathering of the respondents, the researchers discovered that in the respondents, there were more female aviation tourism students than male aviation tourism students. In the demographic profile where the researchers included the section, the sampling technique that is used is the stratified random sampling to determine the 60% of the total population, and that concludes why Avtur 41 has the highest number of respondents among the five sections, followed by Avtur 42, Avtur 43, Avtur 44, and Avtur 45 with the least number of respondents.
In terms of the factors affecting the motivation of the fourth year aviation tourism students towards learning Nihongo as a foreign language, based on the data gathered, the researcher found that the respondents' attitude to learning situation is favorable. It indicates that respondents study Nihongo as their assigned subject in their curriculum. Integrativeness were discussed as the motivation of the fourth year aviation tourism students to learn Nihongo, including the culture and entertainment, such as music, arts, and anime or movies, which they can use when they travel to Japan. The researcher concluded that most of the students agree that integrativeness affects the motivation of the fourth year aviation tourism students towards learning Nihongo as a foreign language. Lastly, The researcher found that the respondents agreed that the instrumentality of the fourth-year aviation tourism student subject, foreign language subject, is made for practical purposes, such as their future job or career, and affects the respondents' motivation towards learning Nihongo.
Conclusion 3. The researchers found that the respondents disagreed that language achievement could influence their experience in the motivation of learning Nihongo as a foreign language, indicating that most respondents are not confident when speaking Nihongo and have difficulties learning foreign languages. Furthermore, regarding language anxiety, the researchers found out that most respondents have problems taking the foreign language subject. However, they agreed that they still feel excited about learning and participating in the Nihongo class, which influenced their motivations in taking the subject.
In conclusion 4, the researcher concluded that there is no statistically significant correlation between the demographic profile and the factors affecting the motivation of fourth-year aviation tourism students taking foreign language subject, as well as the influences on their experiences with the subject, with the exception of the language anxiety with p-value of 0.38, which is less than 0.05, therefore indicating a weak correlation to the students section. And that's the end of our presentation entitled The Fourth Year Aviation Tourism Students' Motivation Towards Learning Nihongo as a Foreign Language. Thank you.